Notre Dame. 8:45 in the evening there. This broke out around, would have been around 7 o'clock Paris time this evening. Hallie Jackson is at the White House. Hallie, we heard a little bit about the president there. He had tweeted and now making these comments.
Yeah, talking about what a terrible fire this has been. Lester, as you mentioned, he is in Minnesota. He is there, and he was just beginning his remarks as we cut away from them on his tax law, trying to rally support for that. But clearly, what is capturing his attention is what is capturing the attention of so many people, not just in this country and in Europe, but around the world, this fire at Notre Dame as the night begins to fall there. We know that the First Lady, and not only has the president been talking about this and has been made aware of this, but the First Lady was as well. She was briefed prior to remarks that she made to members of the military and their families down in Fort Bragg today. She has requested updates. We've also seen reaction from, for example, Vice President Mike Pence, from Ivanka Trump as well, the president's, of course, daughter and senior advisor. So clearly this is something that President Trump is watching. What we'll be waiting to find out is if and when he will reach out to his counterpart in France, Emmanuel Macron, to offer sympathy or support, for example. The president is tied up in a couple of different meetings and roundtables this afternoon, but that is something we are asking the White House about as well. So far, the State Department, of course, on top of this, they know this is happening, and we're looking to see any reaction from our embassies around the world. Lester.
All right, Hallie Jackson, thank you. And President Macron is said to be heading to the scene there in Notre Dame. He says he sees a part of us being on fire, meaning a part of France being on fire. Emmanuel Macron, again, on his way to the scene there. There's some more flame from the interior, but clearly we have seen less fire and less smoke. That's a great thing. Aaron Zelensky is with the works at the Daily Beast. He is in Paris right now. Aaron, can you tell us what you're seeing?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a chaotic scene here. The police have shut down 2 major metro stations, several bridges, several roads. It's very difficult to get too close. But even, I'm a bit down the River Seine. Even from a ways away, I can still see smoke coming from the cathedral and flames earlier as well, but those seem to have died down a bit.
Aaron, what was it like when word began to spread that Notre Dame was on fire? Aaron, you still with me?
Yes.
Yeah, what was it like? I don't know where you were when it broke out, but can you give us a sense what it was like as word rippled across Paris that Notre Dame was on fire?
Well, I live on the opposite side of the city, so it came through initially on news wires, and at first people didn't react too strongly. I mean, maybe there was a trash can on fire, but then as the word got out that it was quite a major fire, there were some photos showing up on social media. A lot of shock and devastation, I would say. But this cathedral it's an iconic symbol of the city, the way the Eiffel Tower is.
Yeah, there is such intense pride in this particular landmark, and it's a city with an overabundance of amazing and beautiful places, but this ranks at the top, I think, for a lot of people. Aaron, thank you very much for joining us, and joined now by Ann Thompson, NBC News correspondent here in the studio in New York. You have been there, I'm sure, a number of times.
Many times, Lester.
What are your thoughts as you watch this, and what can you tell us?
You know, when I saw that spire collapse, all I could think of was it was like watching a dagger go through the heart of Paris. That is what Notre Dame is to that city. It is not just a cathedral for Catholics. It is a source of pride for all Parisians. And to see that spire fall is something we never thought, I certainly never thought I would ever see anything like this. I mean, when you think about this cathedral, it was built in 1160. It has survived all kinds of renovations. It was defaced during the French Revolution. And then tonight a fire takes it. I think what's equally amazing as we sort of watch these sickening pictures is at this point we have no reports of injuries. And Notre Dame traditionally closes at 6:45 at night. And that was just before this fire broke out. So it is amazing, and kudos to the people in the cathedral if they were able to get all the tourists out before anything happened. But you think of that building, and it's a wonderful way to see Paris. About a decade ago, I brought my nephew to Paris, and we went up the North Tower, and he was 15 years old. He loved the gargoyles. He thought those were pretty cool. I was fascinated with the rose windows. There are 3 of them in the cathedral. But the cathedral, aside from being the heart of the Catholic Church, there is also significant because there are 3 relics there, and apparently the 3 relics were in the spire that fell, and supposedly a piece of the crown of thorns that Jesus Christ wore on the day he was crucified, and that will be celebrated in the Catholic Church on Good Friday. That was one of the relics, as well as relics from St. Genevieve and St. Denis, 2 very important saints in the French Catholic Church.
A live picture of Notre Dame, the fire continuing to burn at the center of it, but clearly not at the level we had seen for the better part of an hour, as a heavy billow of smoke, a plume, rose up and across the city of Paris. We have seen pictures of the ground of people just standing there witnessing this with a sense of disbelief and sadness. And I think the French president spoke so well when he said it took a part of it's a part of Paris, it's a part of France that they are losing tonight. Such a part of this city's identity, a city that's known a fair amount of tragedy. I noted earlier I'd been there a few years back for the series of terror attacks, the Bataclan Theater, the target of that. There was before that the Charlie Hebdo terror attack. So it is a city that has known its fair share of tragedy and heartbreak over the last several years. Annalise Bourget from our partners Euronews is on the phone right now. Annalise, what can you tell us? Does it appear they're making progress?
Well, not exactly. We have seen over the last hour or so the roof of the cathedral virtually collapse in its entirety. I don't think there's anything left of the roof, at least from where I stand. I cannot see any single part of the roof. What I can see from here is that the flames are intensifying once again. Over the last 30 minutes or so, it started to burn once again from inside the church. The efforts of firefighters, and there are quite a few of them, of course, that have been deployed to the scene, seems to be in vain so far. And it is quite heartbreaking to see, not only from where I stand, but also from, of course, the perspective of the residents and the tourists alike. I have thousands of people around me right now who have been here standing in shock, watching as this monument, this very important and iconic symbol of the city, but of this entire country, burns right in front of their eyes.
Annalise, have you heard any indications or any word of potential injuries in this?
No, so far we have not have any reports of injured people. I spoke to a resident that lives nearby. She was quite concerned about her family, but so far authorities have not reported any injuries. We do understand that tourists were evacuated from the church quite quickly in the first signs of fire, and I spoke to a few tourists who were inside the church as the fire started, and they said the authorities were indeed very, very fast. But of course, we have yet to get a full report of just why this happened in the first place, and just what is the cause of this fire, and exactly how this has come to happen. We do understand that this church was under renovation, and there are some local channels here in France that have been reporting that this fire may have started as a consequence, as an accident within that process, that renovation work. But once again, no confirmation of the cause of the fire, nor if there are any injured.
Annalise, thank you. The roof gone there as the flames now continue to pour from the upper section of Notre Dame as nightfall is upon Paris. And on that note about the potential cause, we've received word that the Paris prosecutor's office has opened an official investigation to determine the cause of this fire, even as firefighters continue to suppress those flames. Let me go to Sarah Harmon right now. She's monitoring all this from our London newsroom, where we're taking in the bulk of our information. Sarah, what more can you tell us?
Hey, Lester. Well, our producer on the ground is saying, as you said, that the Paris prosecutor is opening an investigation, but also that prosecutor is at the scene along with the French president looking into the cause of the blaze. As we heard from Annalise, the fire continues to burn, and a key focus is going to be on that scaffolding. What role, if any, that played. We also know that first responders are trying desperately to salvage the art and the relics and the priceless pieces that were inside of Notre Dame. We also had earlier a cathedral spokesman saying this wooden interior in Notre Dame is burning. That is not a good sign when you think about the priceless pieces of art that are stored inside this building, that the fire has now reached that level, according to this cathedral spokesman. Lester.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much. It took roughly 200 years to complete this cathedral, and even as we look at this immense destruction, when you look at the history of this place, you do get the sense of comfort. It'll be back.
You do. I mean, this is such an important structure to the people of Paris that it is not something that they are just going to let burn and diminish. It is truly, it is as much a symbol of Paris as the Eiffel Tower.